Hi, it's Sharon again, and I'm back again for another subject that has just been kind of something I really wanted to know myself because I didn't really understand it. I hear the terminology for this all the time, and so I thought I'm going to just look and see what this is for sure, and it's spiritual bypassing. And I always think, oh gosh, am I doing that? And I don't want to do that. And after evaluating this for a while, I don't think I am. So anyway, let me read what spiritual bypassing is. I just took this completely off the internet and printed it. So just so everyone, anybody listening can understand what exactly is that. And so spiritual bypassing, it was coined by psychotherapist John Welwood, is the use of spiritual ideas, practices, or beliefs to avoid addressing painful emotions, unresolved psychological wounds, or difficult life challenges. It acts as a defense mechanism, fostering premature detachment or toxic positivity instead of genuine emotional healing. Now, the key characteristics and examples of this is an avoidance of negative emotions, suppressing anger, sadness, or fear, believing that being spiritual means only experiencing peace and joy, and premature forgiveness / compassion, using forgiveness to bypass setting healthy boundaries or confronting unhealthy behavior. Intellectualizing reality, using concepts like everything is one, it's all a lesson, or impermanence to avoid taking personal responsibility or experiencing grief. Detachment, masking indifference, mistaking lack of emotional engagement for true detachment or equanimity. Common phrases of spiritual bypassing is, it is what it is, it's all good vibes, just pray about it, you're creating your own reality. That's used to blame someone for their suffering. So, why is it harmful? While it may provide temporary relief, spiritual bypassing prevents emotional growth, disrupts authentic relationships, and often masks deeper traumas or low self-esteem. It acts as an easy way out, avoiding the messy, necessary work of dealing with human limitations and psychological reality. And then the healthy spirituality versus bypassing. Healthy spiritual practice integrates uncomfortable emotions and challenges rather than avoiding them, aiming for maturity rather than perfection. So that's what it is. And so I would just kind of try to boil it down to the least common denominator, and I think it's just escape mechanisms. And I have realized that I'm an abnormal person. I really am. I abnormally thirst for growth, for completing shadow work, and for purpose. And so those escape mechanisms, to me, are to avoid those three things: growth, shadow work, and purpose. And so the abnormal part of it, it can be the world or the soul in those escape mechanisms. And I have a story, of course, for you. And I always call it the little red-haired girl syndrome. And when I was little, we lived in a house in Columbus, Ohio, and there was an alley in the back of our house, and this little red-haired girl lived across the alley onto the next street. And my dad would be outside working on his car or whatever. She would come over and talk his leg off. And he was so he just really loved this little red-haired girl, the way she was so talkative and precocious. And so at the dinner table, he would praise this little red-haired girl. And of course, I was not like that little red-haired girl. I was shy and, you know, just the whole 9-yard kind of thing about shyness and not talking much and that kind of thing. And so he unknowingly set me up for a lifetime of problems that I embodied this little red-haired girl syndrome, that whenever I would be involved with any man, invariably this other woman would come in and he would take off. He would think that this woman was the best thing since sliced bread. And this other woman would be his soulmate. He would have found it. And I began to think, well, maybe I'm providing a service. Just you get involved with me, you'll find your soulmate, and it's not going to be me. So, as an example of one thing, you know, of how it always happened, I, you know, was starting to get involved with this one guy. And I get an email, and he says, I don't know what you expect to get out of this, but I've met a wonderful woman. And of course, it really hurt to every time not be the chosen one. Even my husband, he was so enamored with his ex-wife. She had no comparison to any other woman in the world. And finally, you know, it really hurt. It really did hurt. And so I finally told him, I said, okay, go ahead on back. And when he knew that it didn't hurt me anymore, he stopped that. But anyway, my dad doing that, I finally realized that was actually, he unknowingly had given me a gift. Because, and now I'm switching this to the positive, it's not spiritual bypassing, but it's seeing a positive result coming out of something that was hurtful. And every time, it never went anywhere. If I would have gotten involved with any of those guys, I wouldn't be standing here today. I mean, I would have missed out on so much stuff. It would be pathetic. So the result of that I think he unknowingly, even though my father was very, you know, he was operating under how he was raised, and he was very cold and things like that. But switching that and understanding how that helped you in the end as the result, I don't think that's spiritual bypassing. I'm not escaping nothing. I never escaped the pain of that. And it, you know, that really is like a molding, the potter molding a pot on the wheel. All of this stuff goes in there to make you who you are. And I know how to hurt. I mean, I'm very experienced at that. So I'm not turning it over into an escapism, because I am thirsting to complete shadow work. I really want to know. I mean, this was something that came out of my shadow, knowing about how this had affected me in a positive way. The shadow is not all negative. It's just things that you've missed and you need to, you know, get straightened around in your understanding. But so having said that, how do we know, you know, things like that? Now, how do I know that that's truth about that it actually ended up to be a gift? But I can see from the results, I can see how it turned out and how it benefited me and everything. I just recently got this book, and it's backwards, I think, as if I need another book. But anyway, how do we know that the truth that we are thinking is truth is actual truth? I mean, you know, so you've got all these manuscripts, the Gnostic Gospels. I've got a copy of the Book of Enoch. I'm well versed in the Bible all my life. I've been into the Bible, and I know the types and shadows in that. So how are we going to judge that what we think is truth is actually truth? Because what is it that's not man-made? You know, in regard to any of these writings, it's come through man, and they've either preserved it or wrote it out themselves, or they were inspired to write it down. And I'm one of those persons who I think that, you know, in regard to truth, we have to be a gleaner. Truth is truth no matter where you find it, and truth works for you no matter where you get it from, as long as it's truth. And so I think the greatest way to figure out truth is we need to look at God, our Heavenly Father. You know, He does not adhere to some kind of a standard of goodness and truth. He doesn't adhere to it. Everything He does is truth and goodness, and he embodies that whole thing. So I think we have to judge truth by looking as best we can, and we're never perfect. We've all got stuff that we're believing that is not quite according to Hoyle, and so. But anyway, I think that's what I wanted to say, and I really want to get this in my head about spiritual bypassing to make sure that I'm not being, you know, a Pollyanna or somebody like that, because I love positive things. I love love, and I just don't want to have a negative mindset. Stuff comes in here, and I glean out the positive and the things that I see that adheres to who God is. So that's what I wanted to say today, and I will get my little button here if I can get it going. It's kind of hard. Okay, alrighty. Oh, it's stuck on my arm. Okay, thank you for listening.